China's Economy by Chris Eldridge and Matt O'Connor. China's economic goals. China wants to cut down the domestic debt they have and keep their industrial revolution going without having to spend more capital. They're trying to do this by getting ghost cities populated and getting more tax dollars, and they want to be able to save money while still reconstructing their cities. China's economy is currently exploding. In other terms, China has become one of the world's top exporters and is attracting huge amounts of foreign investment. It currently holds 16.5% of the world's economy. A restriction the Chinese have is that they can only invest in businesses within the country. Because China only invests in themselves, their money doesn't circulate into other economies, differently from the United States, whose economic affairs are dependent on trading with other economies. This helps China increase their GDP. Also, China's import to export ratio isn't improving as they want because the cost of living is going up because of its increased wages, so the people are still fighting for even higher wages. China's GDP, which is its products produced within its country's borders, has astoundingly grown to 7.7% since 2013. Although 2014 is not quite over, it is proving the forecast of only 7.4% growth to be wrong and lower than reality, which is very positive for China. Here are some examples of ghost cities as previously mentioned. Ghost cities are cities that have been built but have not been populated yet. The Chinese government has been trying to have farmers inhabit these cities and plan to put their plan into effect within the next couple years. Also, they are anticipating the growth of the population, so they have these huge empty cities to accommodate that. In the past 10 years, 15% of the houses built in China are now vacant. This is due to the fact that there is an ample supply of low-income housing in third-tier cities that are being lived in, but no new houses are being bought. This rate is expected to increase to 20%. Due to a scarcity of food in China, 250 million people are being forced to migrate from their rural farms to the ghost cities. The Chinese government wants to start mass producing food on these now small farms, and in order to do that, all the farmers must leave. Although this isn't entirely like what Stalin did to his people, it is along the same lines. Instead of killing millions of people, the Chinese are forcing them to migrate and leave their homes and farms behind. Here's a video to further prove my point.
The Chinese government plans to move 250 million people from farms to cities. It plans to do this over the next 12 to 15 years. We're passing over some of the world's largest urban areas, and if we combine the population of all of these cities, we'll reach 250 million people, eventually. The scale of China's project is staggering. If it works, millions of farmers will move from their homes into newly built apartment blocks. Critics of the plan have called it warehousing. These major American cities represent only a fraction of China's goal. We get closer to the total if we add some of Europe's largest urban areas. If the Chinese government reaches its goal, 70% of its people will live in cities. The same transition took centuries in Western countries. At 85 million, we approach the number of Chinese villagers who have moved to cities since 2008. That past migration happened naturally. Farmers found jobs in cities and moved. It was part of a transition that had been underway for decades. China's current plan is far more deliberate and will happen faster. Farmers will now be forced to relocate. Even with some of Western Europe's major cities behind us, we're not even halfway there. We'll need to add many of the largest urban areas in the world. The government is hoping the farmers become urban consumers. Villagers typically grow their own food and provide their own energy. If the farmers find work in these new cities, they will buy electricity and use public transportation, purchase televisions and washing machines, and stoke the Chinese economy. We're almost there now. Just add the population of Tokyo, the world's largest urban area, and we've made it. 250 million people.
This slide adds on to the previous slides and video by showing the massive extent of this migration. The money in China is being stalled, and the government is spending most of it on infrastructure projects like the ghost towns. Now we are going to show you a video about Chinese stocks on margin and the recent spike it has taken. To conclude this topic of Chinese stocks, this graph shows that stock purchases using margin debt has increased drastically since January 2013 and has no sight of decline in the near future. Thank you for watching our presentation.